Good evening, everybody. Another Monday night with bees all day. Hey, Mike. I saw Keith in here, Rodney Middleton, Jonathan, uh, Clay's in here, uh, Mike from Misbehaving, excuse me. Here comes Charlie. Evening, Charlie. How are you today?
Well, I'm warmer today than it was the last few days.
Yeah, I saw your video you put out the other day.
Yeah, I did that. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of editing one. So we
Yeah,
fed.
I did that with my new phone.
It turned out nice.
Yeah, YouTube has changed the parameters on shorts where they used to be 15 seconds or 60 seconds. Now you can go up to 3 minutes. And then I'm like, I don't really want to do 3 minutes. But then I found out that, you can, it's like making a little mini video and you can stop. If you only use a minute and a half, or let's say you only use 2 minutes, then you can, stop it and then upload it and you're done. And I said,
Cool.
okay. So that's what I did. I went in, as the video went, where I took the lid off, I showed the plexiglass cover, explained what I was accomplishing and with the condensing hive method. And so it worked out well for the first time I ever used it. And all that. So here comes Will. Hey, Will.
Hey, guys.
Say everybody hi to everybody in the chat here. We got Jonathan and Clay and Mike and
J&D's in here.
JD's in there and Keith.
Keith's in here.
And so we got Steve from Homestead Adventure. He's down there in, I think, at Mississippi or Alabama. I forget now.
Yep. And you got Randy. And we got Mike from Misbehaving. Roy's in here. Got a good crowd tonight so far.
Yep. Very good. So, Will, what's happening up your way? Do you get a little bit warmer up your way? You're north of me about an hour and a half.
Boy, that sun was beautiful today and really warmed things up, and things started to melt a little bit. It was noticeably more mild up here, so I'm glad to see it. I haven't gotten into anything yet, but glad to see it thawing out.
Hey, Mark. I went to North Carolina today and was in 55-degree weather down in North Carolina.
Whereabouts that? We're about
Western North Carolina. I went down to pick up some equipment for the store.
Yeah. What town in the area?
Walnut Cove.
No, I don't know where that's at.
That's kind of west of Greensboro.
Okay.
It's right off 73 and 68.
Let me.
Yeah, I picked up Big Mike's bottling tanks. Picked up myself another bottling tank and a bottling machine and some other. Picked up the nail stuff, some more jackets that needed.
You say Greensboro?
Yeah, it's west of Greensboro.
Got Greenville.
Off of 73 and 68.
I jumped in today and signed up. Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, you're right. Well, Greensboro and Winston-Salem.
Yeah, I was in between the two.
Okay.
Yep.
I jumped in and signed up for your queen rearing class today, Bill.
I saw that. Thank you.
Yep.
So,
hey, Mark.
I was doing this video this weekend, and I said, well, let me go look at the forsythia bushes that's near the hives. I went over and looked, and every one of them has about 2 to 3 inches of new growth with bud pods on them. The English walnuts in the yard farmhouse, they've got bud pods on new growth. So it's not far away. Spring is not far off when you're seeing that.
You figure in March?
I'm figuring in about 4 weeks, sometime around the first, second week of March, we're going to have buds on trees.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you
it-
guys, I don't know. Always seemed like my father always would say, you guys would be cutting hay 2 weeks before we ever do. I don't know why, but
Yep.
whether it's the valley or whether it's low, whether you're more south or something, I'm not sure.
I don't know, but I was down there in North Carolina today, and my distributor's got hives set up. So he was out in his bees today, and he said, "Come up here and look at this." So I went up there and looked. Almost his whole bottom box is brood.
Really?
Yep.
So if
Nice.
it's full bottom box of brood and it's here it is February, or no, it's not even February yet.
End of January, 1st of February. Yeah.
So his climate had to be warmer
Yeah.
the
He's
month
they're
prior.
they're easily 3.5, 4 weeks ahead of us.
So he's probably had 50-degree weather, or yeah, I'll say 50-degree weather.
High 40s, low 50s. Yep.
45 to 50, like you say, 4 weeks before we ever did, or
Yep.
before what we're doing.
Yep. So, and he does single brood chamber management. So he's out
is he in one deep right now? That's it.
one deep. That's all he ever runs. No. And queen excluder on top. He was putting a second honey super on today. Now he'll pull his honey in into June. So he's moving right along.
Yeah.
That kind of shocked me.
Mark
So,
says he doesn't have any dead outs so far, and it's been 4 winters since no dead outs. And Dennis, where are you? You know, Dennis, you said you had 3 slabs of brood in them. Where are you at, Dennis? What state are you in? Because I don't have you on my books here.
So doing this feeding this weekend, when I got into the wooden hives, they're either in the middle box or just starting into the third box. And when I got out of the wooden hives and got into my nail hives, they're at the top of the first box, just starting the second box. And they were out flying yesterday. They were working like crazy yesterday.
Yeah. I got Dodd. He's got a small patch of brood Saturday in the one that he looked at and all that. And
Hey, Bill. Hey, James. So that was
so
my weekend.
So how were your food stores in those hives? Let's say the wooden ones versus the Yanels.
The wooden ones, they're starting at the outside, working back to the middle on the stores. They're starting in the top box. The Yanels, I can pull full racks of honey out of the top box. They haven't touched it.
I went through mine yesterday. I didn't do any video, and because it was let's say 43 degrees. By the time I got done at 1 o'clock, it was nice out, or per se. It wasn't a real chill, but the bees weren't really doing a whole lot of flying. They were still chilly. And like those, the one hive I showed in that video there, I think they were getting close to being out of food. And there was another one I had got into a week or so ago where I took a food frame from on the outside top box and put it in the center, right close to the the cluster.
Yeah.
So they could jump on it, because the rest, there was 3 or 4 frames in there. Yeah, you had a little bit of cap or a little bit of cap honey up in the corners, and the rest of it was just totally empty. And so I put sugar cakes and pollen patties on that, or a piece of pollen patty.
Yeah.
And I had some hives that I thought they were dead out, and I pulled out a frame. Actually, it was a one of my deeps. I think it's that deep right behind me right there. I thought it was a dead out, and I pulled the frame up, and there's bees, and of course there's bees down in the bottom, and they had plenty of food in the frames. And then I had some other with some mediums, and I got, I pulled a frame up out of the way to look down into the next box, and they were down in there. Now they were, I'll say, on the smaller side, I'll say, as far as the cluster. And then there's other ones, they were, a small cluster like that up on top. They were, I won't say they were out of food, but since while I'm right here and I'm opening them up and all that stuff, it's put the shim on and give them some sugar patties and a little bit of pollen. And now I don't have to really worry about it for, a couple weeks at least. And
so I've got 2 hives. I got one single deep box that was a late swarm, and I could have sworn they were going to kick the bucket on me. And we fed the snot out of them all fall up until the very last moment when it was getting cold, and we took the feeder out and stuck 2 frames down in it and threw some fondant on them and kept throwing fondant on them all winter. And we opened those bees up, and they were covering half the tops of the frames.
Mm-hmm.
They shocked me.
Yeah, James. All right, James Lee. He's in the yard right now. He's 35 degrees. He's up in Michigan up there. That's just came out of the cold snap with below 0 plus wind chill. So, James, are you feeding right now, or checking feed and maybe putting some feed shims on maybe? So, I mean, that's where I'm at with mine. I mean, I was getting ready to leave by the time they were starting to maybe be a little bit active, or they've kind of come out on the front porch and just kind of looked out the door and said, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Now, all my nukes are in great shape. I mean, they got a box of honey that they haven't even touched,
Yep.
And all that. And, but like I say, I had the ones I had a couple of them observation inner covers on, and they seem to be the ones that are up on top quite a bit. And I went back a little later on that day, I guess it was, and I was going to go up there today, but I didn't. Maybe I'll try it tomorrow. And see, but they were, what I did see yesterday, I guess it was, they were definitely overall on top of all the pollen and the sugar bricks and stuff.
Yeah.
Those clear inner covers are pretty cool.
Go ahead, Will.
Those clear inner covers that you showed on your video were pretty cool.
Yeah, I got those from
you got them down at Nobby, didn't you?
Yeah, but the guy, the company is Beetle Trap? No. Beetle Jail.
Yeah.
Good. Beetlejail.com. Now, I had emailed him and I said, look, he usually makes them with a upper notch in the wood. I said, I don't want that. There is James. James,
Hey,
are you? You're just out in the. You ain't in the bee. I thought you were going to give us a night vision of the bees.
Yeah.
I'm between yards right now. I just went from one that actually looked really great. I'm going on my way to the other side of the airport right now because the airport separates my bee yards, so I have to drive around the square donut. Which is fine though, because the airport can kind of serve as a bit of a, I don't know, maybe there's DCAs in there because it's so, flat. Who knows? But this yard's all full size colonies. Before this cold snap we got, I went around and made sure everybody had a shim and a sugar cake just in case. But they still all had pretty good stores. It was one of them things where you just worry, so you put it on there so you don't have to worry, but that don't fix the worry, so whatever.
Yeah, I know. So, hey, Tom, you're good. Your jackets shipped today, so you'll have them in time. So I've got another hive that struggled all summer in an nail hive, and they struggled and struggled and struggled, and they were lazy, and they didn't do anything until this fall. And I opened them up, and they're going like gangbusters.
So James, I mean, since you're right around the airport, I guess you put all those red lasers on so you can see better.
Yeah, because the police department ain't gonna bother with me anyway. They're too concerned with writing speeding tickets on the interstate. There we go.
You're out there messing with bees. They're not going to come out there and mess with you.
Oh, you might hear them because this is we're a, what do you call it?
We lost you there.
Quite a few different hubs here. You got me now?
Yeah.
All right.
Are you getting out of the truck now or whatever? Yeah,
that's right.
Here we go.
We're praying for life. I don't know, does the camera, I can't tell if will the camera flip around on this thing? I don't know if it does.
I think it will.
It should.
Should be like a button up on the corner.
Are you on your phone?
Yeah.
He's on his
phone.
phone.
Be a circle with arrows on it or something. Down at the bottom.
I don't know whether you got an iPhone or something else. Android.
Yeah, Android.
Yeah, I got one of the good home phones.
Which phone? What Android phone do you have?
How's that? Yep.
There you go.
There you go.
Now just put the white light on. We'll get a good close up.
Yeah.
They'll come right up to your face.
So there's 4 in the front. These are 4 in the front right now. See if you could get the thermal there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they got a lot of heat. Definitely a lot of heat up on top there.
Yeah. They're up at the top.
Yeah, well, that makes sense with the shims and the sugar cakes on those ones.
Yep.
All right, well, that's 4 for 4 on those.
Cool. Looks like they're doing well.
Only three of them were treated because they failed the Harbo test and they failed my mite wash threshold. Actually, they didn't fail my mite wash threshold. They were below 5% mite wash threshold. What's interesting is even after that 5%, what I do is I test them and they fail the Harbo. If they're under 5%, I just went ahead and treated them because to me, that just means that there's probably more mites in the brood that I didn't find when I tested them. All right, here's hard to see with this light back here, but this is what there's about 20 more hives back here.
Yeah, we can kind of see them on dark air.
Yeah, we can see them.
Yeah, they're up in the top.
They're up in the top.
I'm seeing heat.
There's some nice heat.
There's a big, nice big clusters there.
This is the yard I worry about the most because there's a lot of beekeepers in this area. Oh yeah, these are all alive.
Oh yeah.
Look at even that little. Is that tiny one? I can't see it. Hold on. Yeah, that
Yeah.
even the little
Yeah, it's a
tiny
new-
one.
Yeah, right at the top of
Yeah, right
the
there
top
at the top.
handle.
There's a little small
That's just
cluster.
There's a hot spot there.
Yep. They're over against the side.
that one looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, is the 42 degrees? Is that what the heat signature is reading? I guess.
Yeah. So that's on the outside surface of the box.
Okay.
So
And
the hottest
what's the
spot
temperature? What's the temperature right now outside in the air?
35.
35. Okay.
So your max temperature right now is at 40.9.
Yep.
So the surface temps are looking good. This one right here is a breeder queen.
Oh, they're taking care of her.
Yep. Okay. Everybody's alive over here.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see.
That makes me happy to see that because I just went through the nuke yard and the nuke yard's getting destroyed.
James, does that camera have multiple color platelets? I guess you'd call it, where you
Palette?
can be
Yeah. Yep. Color palettes. Yep.
pallets or whatever they call them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which one are you using? Because I bought that Thermal Master that Phil the Bee Man up there in Manitoba had, and I don't know. I was just playing with the different ones that look like black and white. One of them looks like this iron, which is red looking. Those there, what you did there, what would you call it? Is it better to do it at night because it gives you a more defined look?
Yeah. I'd say nighttime when it's cold is best because during the summer or during the daylight, the boxes are retaining some of the sunlight
Right.
temp, right? And so it can throw it off. I mean, if it's ice cold like it's been up here, you'll get a reading. It's a little more challenging, but I like to do them at night when it's colder and there's no sunlight because your honey frames will hold thermal mass, and that'll also kind of give you a false reading as well.
Well, that's what I say. I mean, I've taken a couple different shots. Usually it was late in the evening, but it wasn't dark yet, and was playing with the different colorations and to try to get the most crisp, clear, defined heat signature and all. But I'll have to try to do it at nighttime and see if that doesn't really help out.
I'm tempted to flip the tops off. I can't help myself sometimes, but
Oh, go on over there. Put a white light up on top of your head there, and you.
Yeah.
And breathe heavy. They like breathe heavy on them.
well, I do
Yeah.
got to get some bees because we do apitherapy, and I do need some bees to do for the apitherapy, but I don't want to harass them right now. I need to wait a couple days so it'll warm up.
Well, it's 35. They ought to be chilled right now. They shouldn't be flying too much. Have you got a red light on the top head?
Yeah, but the battery's going dead on it, so it just keeps going out. I ain't messing with them. I'll have to come back tomorrow.
Randy wants to know what thermal you got. What do you got? A flare?
This is a top down.
A top done. Where's that?
Yeah,
Amazon?
he's got a thermal gun. It's not
But
on
you
his
can-
camera.
You can get the handheld camera ones for a good price, about $200, give or take. For it's called the Seek. I don't recommend getting the FLIR because the FLIR it operates off. Did you lose me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The FLIR operates off of the battery on the unit itself. And so when it's cold out, the battery will die pretty quick on you.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't really take good readings at 32 degrees. Now, here in Michigan, that's not very helpful because we are often below 32 in winter.
Yeah, Mark Miller wants to know, are you at the airport south of Detroit? Close to William Sausage, guys?
What is it?
Mark wants to know whether you're close to the airport south of Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit Metro Airport, right next to it.
Okay, close to the Williams sausage guys.
I don't,
Sausage,
even-
you
I
know.
don't know. I don't know who those are.
Okay.
But they're doing a lot of they're doing a lot of industrial subdivisions over here now. So they've been renovating and throwing up big warehouses and buildings, getting rid of a lot of the forage that these bees have over here. Because for the longest time, the city itself around the airport was undeveloped.
Mm-hmm. But now they're putting up warehouses and stuff like that, I guess.
Yep. Getting rid of a lot of the forage in the fallow fields because it was all farmland, and then they stopped farming it, and now it's
Mm-hmm.
so 17 to 17 in that yard, and it's still pretty stinking cold.
I would say it's 33 here tonight.
Our lows are looking to be in the teens for the next week, but still looking to warm up just a touch during the day. Maybe we'll get like mid 30s. I could throw on some shorts and a tank top.
Well, we got up in the mid 40s today, and it's going to be maybe a Wednesday, maybe in the 50s for us.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
what they're calling for here is 50s.
Oh, that's awesome. If you got some sun, that's even better.
Yeah.
oh my. Roy there, he's making a joke. He says, "Yeah, if you're close to the sausage plants, you should hear the squeal."
I don't. We don't have any sausage plants in Romulus that I'm aware of. I mean, there's no telling, though, right? We've got a bumblebee farm in Romulus nobody knows about.
Where they're
Really?
growing bumblebees and then shipping them out for pollination.
Yeah. Yep. And for tomatoes and greenhouses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I seen a guy, they bought a box of bumblebees for their greenhouse one time. They didn't seem to know much about bees.
Yeah, bumblebees are wild.
Yeah, I don't know much about.
No pun intended. So the furthest yard I got is would be west of the airport on the border of the city. There's only 3 colonies there, but there are some beekeepers further west within range that keep quite a few colonies. It's hard to keep those colonies treatment free because they pick up a lot of mites over in that location. And these 3 colonies picked up, they had a count of 40, another one of 50, and I want to say the highest one was close to 60 mites in September.
Wow.
And you typically would think that that's a death sentence, right? Like you would think most people, 40 mites is a death sentence. But when do those bees start raising those winter bees? Depending on your climate, like in this area, they're going to start raising them mid-September, beginning of October. And they're probably good and done raising winter bees by the time October's over and we start chilling off.
Yeah, that's the way we are too. By November, things are done.
Yep.
So as long as you can get a good mass of bees in those winter bees on that October, that late September, October brood cycle, you should be able to get them through the winter as long as they got stores. If those mites get knocked back and not spreading them viruses around. And these bees took 2 pads of formic that week as soon as I did the counts. But you also got to remember, too, you got less brood at that time, so your mite counts are going to be exponentially more than typical. Wouldn't be the same as if you took a June mite count.
Right.
So are you going to the third yard now, or where you're
Oh,
driving,
yeah.
aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, I'm only going to check one. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Now
you
I
check
want to
one
know.
and you say, "Oh, I got to go do the other ones now." I just
Yeah.
want to make sure.
Well, and we just got back from the Midwest Bee Expo in Wisconsin, and I gave a talk. It was a really good talk. So I'm up there talking an awful lot of trash. I better have some live bees to back it up.
Yeah, Tom and Melissa said they stated here that long time no see. I think they must have been up there with you.
Yeah, I saw Tom. Good to see you, Tom. It was a good time. It was a good expo. It was a little chilly though, but I think they did a really great job with that. They organized it well. You couldn't tell that this was the first time that they did a conference like that. And, you go and pull off a large size conference of that scale with that many people on your first go around, and it doesn't seem like it's your first time. That's pretty stinking good.
Yeah.
How many attendants did they have? Do you know?
I want to say all in all, the total number was pretty close to 500 if you include the vendors and everybody.
Right.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tom says that organizers did a great job.
They sure did. Yep.
So did you drive to that or fly to that?
Drove. It was to fly would have been 2.5 hours, I think, maybe 3. And then, counting your time in the airport, counting your time sitting in the plane on the tarmac. By that time all goes by, I could have drove already.
Right.
And a quarter of the price.
Yeah. Mike's Bees from Easy Ox, he said it was a great expo. He sells the oxalic acid.
Did you have a table? I didn't even see him there.
Yep, must have been.
I seen the bags out. So
Yeah, I got one comment here from Tom. He says that guy named James Lee's presentations were questionable.
not what I heard. I have to show you. I have a Fitbit monitors your heart rate, and I have to show people just how high that thing was off the charts.
Oh, you weren't nervous, were you?
I was fine for the first presentation. I got nervous near the end because I started running out of time, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get the point across. But I think I did. I got it across just in time.
Yeah, that's when you just go over your allotted time and say, "Okay, I'm out of time, but this needs to be said."
Mike says from Easy Ox, he said he was next at Nature's Image Farm.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I didn't get over there that often because I was stuck at our table quite a bit too. I remember now. I remember seeing him now.
He was probably hidden behind all the cameras.
Yeah, because he was helping Greg out a lot too. I think. Yeah, you were quite literally to the right of him, I think. Now that I recall.
Now Tom's changing his tune. He said that you did fine. He did well. I didn't know whether the people were getting up in arms, getting ready to take you out the front door.
No, I don't think so. I think it was pretty well received, honestly. I mean,
yeah, that's good.
Well, that's always a good thing when you walk away feeling like that.
Yeah, that's why I was nervous because there's a lot of consternation around that whole dialogue, and some folks think just because you take a treatment-free approach that you don't like people that are treating their bees, and that's not necessarily the case. It's not.
Yeah, but didn't you say you had a lot of people at your table, right? So that tells me that there's a lot of folks that like what you said and they were wanting more information.
They were lined up at 7:45 in the morning on Sunday.
Really?
Yeah. When Matt Kobe, who helped run the table, he said, He got there at 7:45. I was taking my time because I was tired from the day before, but he got there early, and he said there were people lined up waiting to talk.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a scaled approach. You could go all in, or you could go kind of all the way. And, you know, you can take an approach that works for you, so you can still maintain some sustainability in your own apiary. Like, you know.
Yeah, I think what Ian was up there too. Wasn't he talking to that weekend? Step up.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I was like, I looked at the information on the internet. It looked like a good. I was interested in going, but it's a little bit far away. I'd have to fly in, and it's too cold.
Yeah, there a lot of people. You know, the people that showed up are the typical Northerners. You know, it's like 30 degrees. We were happy.
Mm.
That's nothing, especially if you ain't got no wind.
Yeah, that's shorts and tank top weather for y'all up there in Michigan, isn't it?
Yeah, 45. We're having bonfires and hot dogs. Although it is funny, there's a meme or some sort of like it says Michiganders in May at 60 degrees, and they're wearing flip flops and sandals and shorts. There's Michiganders in October, and they got hoodies on and sweaters, and they're building campfires, talking about how chilly it is. It's the same temperature. Now this yard is tucked behind a friend's house, way out in the back, next to some flatland, some ag, and the farmer sprays quite a bit. He doesn't really care too much about the drift, which is challenging. And every time I've tried to talk to him, he's been kind of sauced up while he's on the combine or tractor or whatever it is he's on. So we had to build a windbreak for these colonies and put something in front of them so when there is drift, we can at least try to minimize it. A lot of good forage. They just don't really think about it, I guess. You know, it's not second nature to them. Like a lot of people, like when they get bees in their house or you got a cutout or something, right? And they say they didn't spray it, but they sprayed 3 cans of wasp killer before they even called you.
Yeah.
But they want to save the bees.
Yeah.
This yard needs to be expanded. I got the room for it. I just never get over here enough to do it. So this one will be the tail of the tape because these are the ones that needed to form it. So I'm either really, really smart or really, really stupid. Let's see what we get. All right, we'll try to turn this around again. Settings. Camera. Thermal bumping up.
Now you got 3 or what is that? A medium and a deep?
3 mediums, 3 medium 8s, and they all have a sugar shim on them. And got bottom boards are looking pretty congested.
All right, you're in center to your camera. You're a little off. There you go.
All right, you got heat.
Up on the top edge.
You got heat in that one.
That's on the top.
30 mites, 40 mites, 50 mites.
That one there is is that a nuke?
Nope, that's a medium.
All right, it's right in the middle there.
That's an 8 frame, isn't it?
That's up on
In the
top.
middle?
Yep, they're all 8 frames. Yep. I like the smaller colonies. They fare better. Yeah, those are all alive. That's amazing.
Is Tom wants to know, are you running all 8s?
Yep. Well, I run a mixture. I run a mixture of 8s and 5s. I tend to run. I historically have ran. I historically have ran more 5s than I have 8s, but the last year or two it's been more 8s than 5s because I've been running fuller size colonies, running for honey, and raising more queens. So you need good size queen starters.
So for your cell starters, you mean?
Yeah.
So what are you doing? Running 8 frame for cell starters?
Yep, queen right. Queen or not queen right. Queenless starter finishers.
Okay.
And I'll run an 8 depending on the bee population. If I can, I'll run 3 medium. I'll run 3 medium 8s and pull the queen out, graft into it, come back in a week and pull those cells, and then knock down any cells that they built in the colony, and then graft into it again. And keep doing that for 3-4 cycles, depending on how much they'll tolerate. And then once they're done, break that colony down into nukes for the summer and give them cells from the queens I just grafted. Or just leave them full size and add a queen back in. And then they're already, because they're queenless, they're just storing up stores. So they're packing in honey like crazy.
Right.
And they got that nice long brood break after 3 cycles. So if they did have mite problems, you could really hit them with oxalic acid and just clean that up, and you'd be pretty good until the fall, especially if you break them all down into nukes. So you got a nice mechanical control and a biological control, because now you give them a mite-resistant queen. They're all cleaned up. You got, winter nukes to sell.
Right. You find in your 8 framers, I mean, it's like I find with a 5 framer, the bees focus on the frames better. Of course, they draw wax out better because is you find maybe the 8 frame is more close to a tree space. This or anything?
Yeah, as far as the cavity size, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty similar. It mimics it. The 3 medium 8s would be about the equivalent of a double deep winter setup. So I'd say it's more like it's more equivalent to double deep. 3 mediums is double deep.
No, I was helping a guy out with right in the middle of honey season. He has 8s, and I don't know. They were always making, they were running out of space as far as the queen goes. What I found was, I told him, I said, he was running like a deep and a medium. I said, why don't you put 2 deeps on there? And I think you can still get the cavity is smaller than a double deep 10, and you'll get them to, like, single brood chamber management in a deep, you force them to put the honey upstairs. And I think even though it's a double deep and an 8, I think you still kind of get that momentum to get them to push it upstairs.
Yeah, I'll say on average, running them this way, they at least my bees tend to want to make at least 2 mediums as the brood chamber. Sometimes they'll push the brood chamber into the 3rd medium.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd say on average they'll run 3 to 4 supers for honey. And on occasion though, you get, if I don't use excluders, the queen she'll keep brooding. It depends on the stock, but the stock I typically will raise from, keep that brood nest down in those 3 mediums, which is about a deep, about a double deep's worth of brood chamber.
Yep.
Which I'm content with. The only problem is you got to go through a lot of frames when you have to go find the queen.
Yeah, I run 3 mediums, 10 frame. And yeah, you're right. But then when I'm doing honey, I drop it down to 2 mediums and then queen excluder and honey supers.
Yeah.
all that.
Well, I figured you guys get a kick out of seeing the thermals, so I thought I'd hop on because I was listening to you while I was driving around. So I'm gonna get back on the road here and go head home, get some dinner.
All right. Good to see
Well,
you, James.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you coming in, James.
Yeah, you too, guys. I'm gonna hang out in the
Very
chat.
cool on the thermal.
All right. We'll see you.
All right. Yep.
Right. Oh, that was cool.
So, he brought up some good points. So,
Charlie, that clear inner cover that you had on there, is that roughly a piece of plexiglass with like a like a wooden bound queen excluder around the outside
Yeah.
of it?
It's just make a frame with a piece of plexiglass. Now I asked the guy not to put in the wooden notch, which he did. And I said I didn't want, we were emailing back and forth, and I don't know whether he was getting ready for Nobby or just what it was, but I said I don't even want the hole in the center of the thing. And it came with the hole in it. And for me, it's like, okay, I could go through the hassle of mailing it back and all that other stuff. And I'm like, I just keep the darn stuff. And then Brian C down in Memphis, down there, he's got them. And what he did, it comes with the screening, and it's not the steel, it's that plastic 1/8-inch hardware cloth.
Yep.
So I took that, and then I put a piece of Gorilla tape across it to hold it in place. And then in that video, you see where that was some of the little wood boards that I made for the wooden entrance holes on the other regular solid tops. And it holds it in place, kind of gives it a support on the insulation on top. I really enjoyed it. I tell you, now when it comes to summertime, yes, I will take, everybody says, well, they're going to get clouded up with the wax and this and that. I says, no, there's no need to have them on in the summertime. You can take them off, because summertime you're going to pull up the inner cover if you're running, regular board inner cover, and see what's going on.
Yep.
And with these clear plastic ones, they're not going to build wax in the wintertime, maybe closer to spring. And I liked it to the fact that I had bought 3 of them just to experiment with them. And you take the lid off, you take the insulation off, and there's your bees if they're up on the top. And then you don't have to go any farther. You can just look, and you don't have to break any seals and stuff like that.
yeah.
And
Is there enough room there that you could slide your pollen patty underneath that on top of the bars and there still be a little clearance?
There might be. I went ahead and put a 1.5 inch shim on there.
Oh, okay. So you've got a little bit of air spaces there that kind of help you with your heating, because above that plexiglass, you got a little air space, and then you got your insulation. So that should work out pretty nice for insulation on top.
Yeah, there wasn't one, I pointed out that there was a little bit of, condensation on the outer corners. Now, what I did notice was as time passed, you could start seeing some, I'll say, cloudiness starting to form on the center of that glass. But when I actually opened it up right off the bat with the insulation, it was totally clear.
Yeah.
Totally clear.
Yep.
And then that's something else this is new to me with the insulation on the roof, with the wooden boards and that clear boards, is that I have not seen any moisture problems at all. Everything is dry.
I like the insulation on top for winter for sure.
This year was my first year with that. I mean, I know that other people have been doing it for 5 or 6 years. And, some days you get tired, you just run out of time. And then you get the attitude of, well, I don't know whether to do that or not. I've been doing it this other way for 10 or 15 years. And it's like, they've already went through the winter just fine.
Yep.
But I think what kind of put me over the edge, I got to meet Bill Heschbeck. He's from up in, I think, New Hampshire. He's an engineer. He is a beekeeper, and he's he made a nice presentation about insulated hives and the different. I'm talking about bee cozy wraps and
Yep.
black tar paper,
Yep.
and he's talking about all the thermal part of it, what works, what doesn't work, what is the value of these different things thermically wise, heat
Mhm.
resistance, because our value is the resistance of heat being released. And I had him zoom into my club, and then I actually met him about a month or so later. I guess it was like it was February of last year. He came to the Maryland State Beekeepers meeting, and I got to talk with him there a little more. It's always better to do one-on-one extensive type of thing.
Mhm.
And he was talking about all the different things. And I said, well, I don't feed through the winter. He says, I don't either. He says, he's sort of old school, I guess you call it. And he told me, he said, the main thing you want with it, you want to be able to, where the insulation is, you want to keep the bees from being able to grab onto the insulation.
Yep.
And because he said, I made a mistake. He said, and here it is, a foot of snow on the ground. He picks the board up, this here insulated board, I'll say, like a shim type of thing. And it was an insulated shim. Well, when he picked it up, the bees are, there's 2 pounds of bees or a pound of bees hanging on that insulated board. And he didn't see it. And he came over like that and plop. Here's a pound of bees into the snow.
Oof.
Yep.
And, like he was sick, and he said after that, he made sure he had a screen cover in there that when he pulled the insulation off, they couldn't get to the insulation, but he could see the bees. Well, better yet is this here plexiglass cover. You can see the bees. They can't touch the insulation. It keeps that heat dome like Bill's.
It doesn't even crack the heat out of it. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't let the heat out of it.
Yep.
And I got the idea from Brian C., which is Brian Cooper down in Missouri or Memphis. And he does a lot of, if you follow his page, he does a lot of experimentation statistics. He's measuring the weight of the hive, and he's looking at the thermal and the humidity. And then he had these clear they call them observation covers. And that's where I got my idea from. I said, well, they look interesting, and like doing in that video that I put out yesterday or day before, it was to me, it was just, fascinating that you can,
it was cool.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think the video showed it very well, but those bees were just not there, like frozen in place. They were sitting there moving around, crawling all over top of each other and stuff like that. And
you could check them without disturbing them. You know what I mean? You didn't let the heat out. You didn't mess the bees up.
Yeah. I took the video then, and it was probably 40 degrees or so, 42. I went out there the day before at 4:00 in the evening when the sun was starting to go behind the barn. It was 15. It was 2 or 3 days ago. It was in the early part of the week of last week. It was 15 degrees out at that time. And I opened them up. Now, they weren't spread out 9 frames wide. They were more like 6 to 7 frames wide. And they were more of a tight cluster, maybe around 12 inches across. Where the video showed them, they were nine frames wide, but they were warmer. Yeah. And like I say, you can finally visualize something, see it in real life, without disturbing the bees and stuff.
Yeah. So how thick is that piece of plexiglass you've got on that cover?
Maybe 1/8 of an inch, I guess it is. Whatever, normal, like a pane of glass.
Okay.
It's I guess it's 1/8 of an inch, something like that. Whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's regular thin plexiglass. It doesn't have to. It ain't thick at all.
Yeah, you're right though. With doing it over winter, they don't build. They're not drawing wax. They're not screwing it up. If you had that on in the summer, it'd be a mess.
Oh man, it'd be
or just that quick winter. That's really nice.
Yeah, James uses a piece of shower curtain.
Yeah.
That's more of a like an inner cover, I guess you'd call it. Somebody else was see, what was it? I seen it on a YouTube video, I guess. Who was it? He does packaging, like he'll package stuff. And he made a frame like a feeder shim, I think it was, and he put shrink wrap.
Yeah, just a clear shrink wrap across it.
He
Just
put it
clear
across
shrink
the
wrap
side
across
of it.
it.
He
Yep.
stapled the shrink wrap with some staples, and
Yep.
he put it across and around and stapled it. And then he took a heat gun and just did like that to where it makes it tight.
Yep.
And it was,
Who
I
was
mean,
the
it was
guy that it was that other guy that was on the chat Friday night? What was it? Carl from up in, was it Wilkes-Barre area? He was showing his, because we were talking about it, and I think that's where that was. He took a
Was it?
shim and wrapped it, and then hit it with a
Yeah,
heat gun.
that's who it was. It was Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Two B brats. Yeah, that's who it was. It was Carl
Yep.
showing me that.
and that was cool. I mean, I thought that was pretty slick,
That was
quick
slick.
and easy. Yeah.
Yep.
Something cheap,
Yep.
Something
I
cheap,
mean-
something easy. Yeah, all you got to do, if you've got an inner cover, you can just pull the center out of that inner cover and make one.
Well, I mean, all that Carl did was just make a 3/4 inch board, maybe an inch wide, or no, it must have been about 1.5 inches wide because he had enough space on the sides where he could staple and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That shrink wrap.
Well, the nice thing is if it gets screwed up, you just cut it off and put a fresh one on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all that. And but there he is, Carl.
Oh, there he is. Is that him? Two B
Yeah.
Yes,
brats.
two B
honey?
brats. Yeah, made
Nice.
6 more tonight.
Take
They
6
are
more tonight.
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But now I like to actually, I mean, I wouldn't mind having clear inner covers for the winter on all of them. So, I mean, you get your curiosity up. Well, shoot, you just go out there and raise the lid up. Oh, there they are. Put it back down. And you didn't hurt anything.
Not even
Yeah.
letting the heat out.
And you don't have to worry about coldness too either, because you can
No.
actually you can see what's going on at 15 degrees, which is not normal around here. But at 15, you think they're all clustered down and they're tight and they look like they're dead, but they
Yeah.
weren't. Now, see, that's
Hi,
another
Tom.
thing.
Have a good evening. I'm sorry, Charlie. Go ahead.
Where was it? Who left?
Tom and Melissa, they had a board meeting.
Oh,
together.
okay.
Yeah, if I didn't have candy boards on, I'd be making me a pile of those out of plexiglass. They'd be easy
Oh,
peasy
yeah.
to make.
They'll sell easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they're talking Monday next week, a week from today. They're calling for 50 up here. I wonder if that might be my opportunity to crack into them and slide a patty on them.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep. That'll be in
if you
February.
get it, yesterday I didn't have time to video, number one, and number two, it was 43, close to 45 degrees, and I'm like, it ain't gonna hurt them, but if you don't, as long as you don't fool around. And mine was take the inner cover off, slap the shim on, put some food on right quick, and put everything else back on and close them back up. It was, within,
Yep.
Give me about 2 minutes and I'm done.
Yeah, I built shims into my boards and everything else. So all I got to do is, take the top cover off and then just open up the candy board and slide it in there and walk away from it. So that won't be bad.
Yeah. Ryan said it'll be 60 degrees Wednesday, and that'll be down, and he's about 2.5 hours south of me in Southern Maryland
Okay.
and all. And he's close to the water down there too, I think. That might help him out. I'm not sure. You know more about that up there next to the Susquehanna. But
It's going to stay cold.
But
long
no,
as
I
it's
thought about maybe getting more of them over time or something.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, you could make them cheaper than you can buy 'em.
Yeah. Yeah, I could just buy the plexiglass and
Yeah, if Charlie
Yeah.
could just find the wood for it. I mean, that's going to be your struggle is finding the wood for it, right?
nah.
That's the easy part for him.
The plexiglass there, I mean, shoot, they were made out of poplar. Yeah, Ryan, it'll be around 50 degrees Wednesday here.
Yeah, Wednesday here they're calling for it to be 48, and then Monday the 3rd they're calling for it to be 57 here.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing. I was seeing here it was going to be 50 on the 3rd there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I put some pollen in there, but I'm kind of going by, Bob Biddy talked about that 2 weekends ago about, let's face it, bees eat two things, and that's carbohydrates and protein.
Yep.
They can't just, they can survive off of the carbohydrate, which is the sugar, but you give them a little bit of protein,
Yep.
But it's February and they're raising brood right now.
Yeah, they are.
I can,
They are raising brood.
if they are, I mean, I haven't dug deep enough. It ain't warm enough to do that kind of stuff.
Not yet.
But
It's getting
I'm
there.
figuring if they have a 2-inch circle of brood or something like that, and I could give them some pollen sub, a little bit of pollen patty, and the carbs along with it, as long as they got their honey and maybe their other pollen in the frames, everybody talks about swarming, and I said, well, that's where management comes in.
Yep.
And I've gotten to the point now where, yes, I want those hives to be overflowing with bees. I want to not be able to even see the frames because there's an inch worth of bees on top of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that when you have something like that,
then it's time to do your Damari swarm control.
Well, that's where
Yep.
I've learned one thing when it comes to, you want a full box of honey, you want those boxes, those honey supers to be completely loaded with bees, covering the frames where you can hardly see the tops of the honey super frames. That amount of bees will bring you 9 frames of honey in, 9 or even 10 frames. If you got a 10 frame box, as far as putting 10 frames in 9 frames versus 10 frame, making it a wider comb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all that. So Ryan, he's south of me. He's going to go in Wednesday when it's 50 degrees and in a nuke and see what they got. If there's any brood.
Yeah.
It all depends on how.
Wednesday. They're calling 45 up here. That might be getting close.
Well, 45, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're worried and you need to put food on or something like that, I'd be going there at 45. Like I say, give them about 2 minutes, in, out, done,
Yep.
and all that. But
they got plenty. Mine have plenty of sugar on their heads. I just want to put some protein on them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I bought those pollen from down there at Nobby, and usually it comes in a long strip. Well, what I do is I always cut them strips in half, give them about a half a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And as many bees that I like in that one hive that you seen, that half a strip, shoot, 4 or 5 days, it's gonna be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They'll suck that damn thing down
You
like no
sneak
tomorrow.
into that on Wednesday or something like that, and they'll probably have.
Oh, see, that's what I like. That's what I like about these
just pick
clear
it up and look.
covers. I just
Yep.
go up and look and like, oh yeah, there it is, and I don't disturb nobody. I don't have to worry about the temperature. It's just right there, right in your face.
I think you need those covers for all your bees for next year, bud.
I think so too.
Yep.
I really do. And all. I have to figure out. I don't know. I don't know whether they would. I guess what he would do is take a stick and then you would put run a groove, like a tongue and groove cutter in there.
Well, just a thought for you if you're thinking about it. If you took, and maybe you could even incorporate it into your shim. Make it that it's up 3/4 of an inch where you
Well,
put your
see,
groove.
like my normal inner covers, I do put a 1/2 inch shim around the inner cover, so I can feed that in there. But what I learned is, like I told you, like last week about putting in pollen patties, I've learned that if you don't get them in ahead of the maple trees, there's no sense in buying pollen patties.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
If you don't get in there 30 days ahead of time,
Well,
it
I'm going to tell you, it's new growth forsythia out there right now. There's new growth on the English walnut trees at the farm. And it's new growth on all the maples, the red maples. So I think 30 days, within 30 days, we're going to have blooms on those trees.
Well, if I slide in and give them some protein, if things aren't working till if they eat all that up, I'll just slide another half in or something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And just let them keep building.
Let's face it. Next week, February's here.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. You know what I mean?
And the thing of it is, if you can get in there at 50, if you're going to go in there at 50 degrees,
yep,
they're ready to rock and roll. Things are coming along. I'd throw a 1/2 a patty in there and let it go.
Yep.
Hey,
Joe.
Joey, I am so glad that you have a proper picture behind you today instead of that snow-covered one.
Yeah, well, that's because it all melted. It all melted by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been a picture from today. You never know.
Yeah.
That's
He's
the biggest
probably
problem
on
we
his
had.
first cutting, Charlie.
Yeah. That was the biggest problem we had today was, yes, it was about 45 degrees and things were melting or dripping, I'll say. But then it's like you got your door. It's like I had a sliding door on a barn, right? Well, it's dripping over here. And I was like, I can't move it. Well, of course it gets a little cool in the afternoon and there's an ice block on the darn bottom track that you got to break away or put salt on it in order to close the door and all that stuff.
So
and then we had,
some of those inner covers.
Huh?
You gonna build you some of those inner covers with the?
I don't know if I'm gonna build them or not. I might be lazy and just buy them.
Well, let me show you something on the interviews that I use.
Yeah.
This side, this is the bottom. When you put it down on these interviews, that gives you your bee space, 3/8 of an inch right there. See that?
Right.
You flip it over. If you want to feed pollen patties, this is about 1 inch over here.
Nice.
That was kind of by design.
And you could throw jars on that thing if you want.
What's he got a rabbit? Just a regular slot in there somehow?
Yeah.
How's the corner? Is that a rabbit? Or is it a 45?
Can you see it?
He's got a rabbit on that. Yep, that rabbit extends 3/4 of an inch over the sideboard. Yep.
But if you're going to feed jars, you can only feed one way with the 3/8 down. If you flip it over, you can't feed with the jars.
No, I'm not going to be doing that.
But yeah, that's by design. He's got at least 1 inch right there.
Isn't that the fella that make them? Isn't that the fella that is a friend of Dirt Rooster? He had him on a couple years ago.
Yeah. That's Bee Gold Honey. Now that's not plexiglass. That's
Is that glass?
That's like 1/4 inch laminated glass.
Okay. Mm-hmm. They're really nice. He even thought about leaving a wooden rim on that bottom side so when you push your mason jar down and it doesn't push the screen away.
Right.
I mean, he's got that thought through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's even got another one for when you want to do a lot of feeding. He's got this here, and he's got another one going down the middle.
Yeah, but I mean, are you putting them on year round to do all that feeding? Or I mean, of course, now you're in the deep south down there, which that you can do that.
I keep them on year round. And another thing about the bee space side, if they start attaching burr comb on there, when you peek in the top and you see burr comb, that's telling you you need another box.
Yep.
I just thought I'd jump on and give you that information in case you want to build yours.
Have you got what's the fellow's name? Or I know that Gary stored here. He likes that third middle bar in the middle.
It's Bee Gold Honey.
Bee Gold Honey?
Bee Gold Honey. If you do Bee Gold Honey, I think it's beegoldhoney.com. And you'll see it on their website.
Hey, Matt.
Well, that center bar, if you put that center bar on there, you could put a big old 5-pound mason or a big old 5-pound honey jug on that. You know what I mean? There'll be enough clearance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post their link to Bee Gold Honey.
Also, another trick you can do with these things is knock that screen out and put jars on there, and they'll go up in that jar and build a honeycomb up in that jar. And then once they fill it up with honeycomb, you can take it and top it on off with regular liquid honey. People mark them things way up there, price wise.
Is it out of line to ask what kind of money that something like that is?
I think they're around $60 or something like that.
Are they?
Hang on a
Okay.
minute, I tell you.
They look really nice.
Y'all hear that noise?
Went
Yeah, I
away
heard.
now.
Huh? Okay. My mixer just kicked on. I'm not
Hey,
using it.
Joe,
Go ahead and put this in.
those,
Yeah.
those inner covers are $40.
Is that for the 8? That's for the 8 frame box.
Yep, that's the 8 frame.
Yeah.
It won't give me the 10 frame price because they're out of stock.
Yeah, he's waiting on glass delivery. They didn't. They stopped delivering during the wintertime on it for some reason.
Yeah, and those little screens act like a vent there too. That's pretty well thought out.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
will plug that up. They'll tell you right quick they don't need that.
Yeah.
So what he recommended do if I didn't want them clogging that screen up is just drop a lid down in there.
Yep.
And they wouldn't propolize it.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah, it is.
I think I can't remember if it was Date Ant. Somebody used to sell them all the time for him, but he got where he got so many orders he couldn't keep up with all of them, so he took it away from them.
So there's your link to Bee Gold Honey. If anybody's interested.
Well, Day Dance Man Lake now.
Yeah.
Or I'm thinking of Kelly. That's who I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah, that's
You're
right.
thinking of Kelly.
Yeah, I'm Kelly.
Didn't they buy like 3 companies out
Who, Man Lake?
over the years?
Brushy Mountain went out of business.
Yep.
The guy that originally started it, he sold it to the guy that was managing it, I guess you would call it. Then they got like $1 million government grant, And he was going to try to become a box manufacturer and I think a frame manufacturer. Well, on my understanding, they bought a bunch of used manufacturing equipment, and just that, it was used. It was wore out.
Yep.
And the problem I had with them was when it came to ordering, it was like I ordered some way back when, ordered some of that cotton, to use for smoker fuel. And it was like 2 weeks. I was like, where's it at? Well, we're getting to it. And I'm like, what do you mean you're getting to it? Whereas Man Lake or any other ones at the time, you would go through the internet and heck, 4 days later, you had your product and stuff like that. It's like I ordered a replacement bellows for my smoker from Daydamp. Well, they never told me, but they were on, what do they call it?
Back order.
No, inventory. They were doing inventory
Oh.
and letting all these orders sit. And I called them up. I said, where's the darn smoker at, Smoker bellows. Oh, well, we're doing inventory. I said, well, I'd appreciate it if you get me the, thing out.
I would say that the Pro Nuke is probably your best bet if you're going to use them for day of sale or transport day of sale. Jester boxes, if you don't fold them correctly, they leak bees. And if they're not stored properly, they leak bees when you fold them. You have to store them perfectly flat. And not a lot of people have that kind of space to store Jester boxes.
Over the years, I've used the Man Lake ones. And the problem with them is like any of them cardboard jobs, they'll overheat them bees.
Yep.
And a friend of mine, Lloyd, that I help out, he sold the boxes. And where the preparation was for the ventilation on the end of that thing, he went out and got himself, I think it was a 6-inch hole saw.
Yep.
And bored a hole saw in there, and then you buy. First he would cut it himself, the 1/8-inch hardware cloth. Then he got it pre-cut, and then you have to have a long neck stapler in order to staple a heavy duty stapler to staple all that stuff. And it boils down to one big thing that I always complained about is you got a transport box that you got at least $10 to $12 invested into. And that's the cheapest. And Pro Nukes are around $20 unless you buy them.
Have you priced Jester Nukes lately?
Well, they're as much as the Pro Nukes.
Yeah, I know.
And the thing of it is, if you're doing a lot, then you can buy them by the pallets, which in turn you can get a better price.
Jester Nukes from Lappy's are $18.95 with a minimum order of $100.
I've always just transferred.
Transfer
into their
frame
equipment. I've always liked for my customer to see what they're getting.
Yeah.
Now, I bought some Pro Nukes this year, and if somebody that does business with me over the years, if they want it, I'll just sell the Pro Nuke to them too, and let them come get them that way, or bring it back and get a deposit back or whatever for it.
Yeah, and the way we do Pro Nukes is if they fail to bring something with them, or if I don't have enough wooden boxes today, I call and say, hey, come get your nuke. They go in a Pro Nuke right there in front of them, and I hand it to them. And tell them, when you get home, take them out of this and put them in a hive, because those Pro Nukes will sweat. So.
Yeah, now, Ryan, in the past, I've had people bring their 10 framers in, and I've dropped their bees into that 10 frame and let them get acclimated to that box and stuff. Make sure everything's doing good. I've done that. Some people bring their own nuke boxes. They're the ones who are experienced beekeepers most of the time or been in it for a couple of years. What the problem of it is, you're going to get somebody who's a brand new beekeeper, doesn't have anything. Well, of course, they would have their own hives, but you're going to have to do a lot for them. You're going to have to staple the front closed with hardware cloth. So buy yourself a roll of hardware cloth and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I use my Pro Nukes more for when I'm going out to the bee yards in the spring, and they're just handy if I run into a bunch of swarm cells somewhere or something else. I can just throw frames in them and go,
They are. I mean, I was going to buy some, but then I had to buy some nukes last year, which all came in Pro Nukes. So now I got a bunch of Pro Nukes. Then I had a guy right up the road from me. He had collected all these easy nukes and Jester nuke boxes and all these different ones. And he said, "Do you want them?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take all of them." He gave me like 20 or more of them.
There you go.
So I was able to sell bees and then boxes, and some people either brought them back and gave them back to me, or some people just kept them. But I didn't have that extra, extra expense there. I mean, some people do the Pro Nukes where it's a $25, it's $225. If you want your $25 back, then bring the box back. Some people have a hassle with that too.
Yeah.
I see where Gary says that pretty much does frame swapping. I used to do that. I got so many bad, cheap frames from people. Yep. I don't even do that anymore. I
just transfer.
I just add that price and don't worry about them bringing anything. Just bring your box and 5 frames, and I'll transfer my 5 nuke frames into your box.
You might wind up with a lot of disease that way, if it's got comb on it.
Yep. No, I used to trade new frames. They would give me new frames to replace the frames but I don't do that no more because I'd get so much of these Tractor Supply frames and plastic the bees wouldn't even build on.
Yep.
I'm not messing with them. Just tell them to keep them.
Yeah.
They're going to bring you the cheapest things they can get.
Yeah.
That's like when I was queen rearing 3 years ago. Started out by selling cells. Then they come back and say, "Well, them queens weren't no good. They were a dud." They could have been. I had one guy that I don't know. He was not sure whether he was all that great of a beekeeper or not. He had a lot of hives, but he had issues. But anyway, after that 1 year, I said, "You know what? No more cells. I'm going to sell virgins or mated. Here's your virgin queen in a JZBZ box or, plastic cage. There it is. She's alive, well, and kicking. Take her and put her in the hive, when you get home." And that kind of alleviated that problem. And I liked it better that way too. I know that they got a queen that was alive. Hey, Sean.
Did everybody show up with an incubator to put those cells in, or?
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's your problem right there. Bam.
Well,
unless they show up with an incubator.
I put them in a McDonald's drink cup, put some paper towels in there, put the cell down in there, you straight down in there, put a towel over top of it, and there you are.
I always take mine.
They're within a day or two of hatching. They're within a day or two of hatching.
So they're pretty good, but still.
Yeah, but then there's those jerks out there. Well, I'll put them in tomorrow. I says, look, they just came out of 93 degrees
Yep.
or 92. I said, no. I said, you're going to take them right here and you're going to go right to your hive and you're going to put them in. And there's your problem with people.
Yep.
They don't understand the urgency of everything. Same thing I had problems with when it came to picking nukes up. I get into a frenzy and I'm like, look, my box of bees here is ready to take a swarm on you and it's ready to hit the trees because that's how many bees are in there. And I said, that's the kind of nuke I sell. Do you understand? Well, I'll put it in tomorrow. No, you don't understand.
Yep.
Bees are not on your schedule. You are on the bee schedule. Get it?
DCBs he hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
They don't understand because they hadn't been taught. And that's the problem with the education of new beekeepers. They're not taught everything they should know. Sorry.
Well,
That's my
yeah.
soapbox.
Yeah, well, you're right. And the thing of it is, I mean, now you teach beginner beekeeping course, and my complaint for years upon years is like, okay, we've got beekeeping #1 class here, which just scratches the surface of the beginner beekeeper. Why has it? And I don't know of any bee club has put out a beekeeping 102 class, and build upon the first information.
Yep.
And it's like build upon, learning how to do splits, making nukes. And then after that, build upon that. All right, let's talk about queens and stuff. Now, there are beekeepers that will say, like me, all right, you want to get into artificial insemination? I'm like, no, it's the startup cost of that is prohibitive. And then I don't really have the interest at that level.
No.
Most people don't. But what I'm getting at is there's a lot of folks that they go from just being a beekeeper to raise a few queens for themselves. Let's say grafting wise. There's a lot of folks in there that they just don't have the interest to do that. They're not interested in that.
Exactly. So it's right now, right off the top of my head, I know of one bee club, maybe two, in the state of Virginia that are doing any sort of a 102 class. And those are down on the eastern shore of Virginia, down in Virginia Beach area. And then on the western side, you've got my summer series. And that's it. The bee clubs over here don't teach any kind of advanced beekeeping.
Hey, Ripple.
Anywhere.
I think it's because the second year beekeeper and the third year beekeeper think they know everything already.
Yep.
That's usually what's that term they use? Ian talked about it before. The third year beekeeper, by the end of their third year, is usually when they learn they don't know anything.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, Ryan, are you working or can you come in and talk about your 102 class?
Yeah. And where you're at. Because now the 102 classes that I'm talking about, that second, third year beekeeper, well, they got lucky. They're probably going in their second year. They didn't do splits because they didn't know how to do them. So they probably got lucky and didn't really need any swarm control. But going into the third year, they're going to need to know it because they're going to have to do splits sooner or later for swarm control. And then you look at them and you say, do you know how to do swarm control? I don't know what you're talking about. And
I agree with Gary on that, on his little comment there.
Takes 5 years to put the pieces together. Oh, yeah, I'd say so. But that's also, it takes 5 years of determination by that person to
Yes.
go to different conferences or other bee club, maybe having a special speaker or stuff like that.
Yep.
You know,
And then you got clubs that'll teach a beginner's class, a 16-hour beginner's class in 2 days.
no, our class is either 4 or 6 weeks long.
Yeah, mine's 6 weeks long.
6 weeks at the local college.
And it covers, a lot of basic topics. It covers pest management and everything else. And we touch on swarm control. We don't get in depth because really their first year, they really don't need to know swarm control. So, but that second year, they need to know it.
And I've always said too, if I'm trying some kind of new technique somebody taught me, I don't just do it on a hive. I do it on 3 to 7 hives for at least 3 years.
Yes. To make sure it's going to work and that
Yeah.
you can repeat it every time.
Because happenstance is a big rule.
Yeah.
It'll fool you.
Yep.
All right, yeah, Ryan's working nights.
Okay.
He's out there fixing the electric lines.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, you know what? There was a guy up here this week. He knows you. He's a lineman too. He said he didn't know that you kept bees. Let's see, where we at now? He said we have a class on splits, swarm control, expansion of yard. Okay, well, that's good topics.
Yeah.
He's asking what guy.
I don't know what his name was. Never got his name. He came up and got some lumber, and I said, "Yeah, I know. I got he's in the Linemen's Union." And I said, "Hey, I got a fella that's a beekeeper that I talked to down in Calvert County. I'll say is about where you're at." And told him your name, and he said, "I know that guy." He had a little more descriptive. He had a little bit more descriptive words that I can't say right now.
Yeah.
Wait till I see him. I didn't know he kept bees. So anyway, but I think I should have got his name. I wasn't handling the business transaction at the time. My guy that was helping me was. So but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's it's just like the Demery thing we've talked about. You got Bill's the original, and I got a modified rolling Demery. And when I first went up to Chester County, where Nancy's from, and same club we joined together, the guy who was talked about this, and he was going through all the different steps and different things he did. Now, he was also getting into detail of how he put the brood in a certain area of that top box, so he knew, I'll say, the age of the brood. He was getting it to fine tuning it to where he knew that these strips or frames in the middle here, he knew that they probably could be pulled out while the outer brood on the outer side of the box was still getting ready to hatch. And anyway, it was just information overload.
Yeah.
And I've listened to him several times, and I don't know how I did it, but last several years, I picked up on it, maybe by somebody else doing it and explaining it in a different way. And I said, "Oh, okay, let me take and pull these frames, the brood frames up and out upstairs." And, and it all seemed to work quite well. And, it's just like the guy, we were talking, I've been watching him on the Cell Builder finisher, queen right, and Benny talked about it. Of course, it was at Hive Life, and I was, you were so far back in the room you couldn't see. At least I got to see it, and then different other ones have talked about it and try to demonstrate it. And then I watched that video, and then I had questions about that, and then Doug said, "Well, why did he only put so many frames on the bottom?" Well, he's manipulating the bees to jump on them frames in order to get onto themselves. So I said, okay, that all kinds of makes sense to me. And so now it's becoming more clear and all that. But that's
hopefully I can clear up some more for you, Charlie.
Well, that's what that's what I tell people. I says, I will drive 100 miles or 150 miles one way if I know I can get a nugget or two of good information out of it. I've had up as high as 5. I belonged to 5 different bee clubs, and it was because of information. Where they would have a presentation on something, and I might even want to hire the guy, to come to my home club. I would check him out, and also I might, some nights I would go over here to Baltimore County and I'd come away with a nugget of information. Sometimes I go over there that next month and there wasn't anything. It was a waste of my time, but you never know.
Yeah.
And just like coming to your splits class, do I need to really come? No, I know how to make splits. I've been making splits and nukes for years. But you're going to talk about the demery, on how you do your demery, which I'll have I got it in my mind how you're doing it. It's pretty clear. But, watch it, maybe going through a dry run, I guess you would say, because that's what we'll be doing, a dry run.
Yeah.
It clarifies things. And if I got questions, well, I got somebody that's going to sit there and tell me exactly what I need to know.
Yeah.
And for me, I need a vacation from the sawmill anyway.
Yeah. Cabin fever. We're going to get away.
Well, for me, when I go on vacation, some people like to go to the beach and just lay on the beach. That doesn't interest me at all, except for the girls walking up and down the beach. And it's like, I got to have a destination, and I'm going to be doing something or seeing something there. And that's what for me, going to that class is going to be, I'll get to meet, I think, Will, or you're going, aren't you?
Yep.
I'll be getting to see Will again, and whoever else.
I agree with you. Any little nugget.
Darren's supposed to be there.
Darren's supposed to be there.
Yeah,
I know he's coming to the grafting class. I'm coming to the grafting class.
Yeah.
And then I can meet some Virginia beekeepers, maybe.
Oh, there'll be plenty of them there.
And all that. And that kind of stuff.
There's going to be a couple of beginners in that class. But
hey, Bob.
They are they've been beekeepers for 3 years, but they've had no guidance.
Hey, Bob.
Come on in here, Bob.
I seen Doug there. Yeah, Doug. You know what, Doug? There was a video. I'm going to say the Saskatchewan Bee Club that interviewed him a month or so ago. Mr. I forget what his last name is, and showed his history of where.
Clifford?
Huh?
Was that Steve Clifford guy?
Yeah, Clifford. Yeah, he actually came from northern Dakotas. He was from the Dakotas, and somehow I kind of skipped through it, but they had went up into the northern parts of Saskatchewan, and anyway, he was, he told how he got into it, how he worked bees, and his family worked bees too, and that kind of thing. And So yeah, but Doug there, he cleared up my question about why did he put only 3 frames in the bottom. And after he said something, I'm like, that makes sense. You know, even though it's a big box, all the bees are going to jump on the frames where you want them to get onto those cells, those grafted cells. Then I got to thinking about the way he showed in the video. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, he had the queen in the bottom to begin with, a queen excluder, and then he had these 2 pollen frames with a feeder. He was drawing bees up. I said, well, you know what? I can put up open brood in that top box up there in the beginning, let all them nurse bees come upstairs.
Yep.
And then when I get ready to put my graft in, then see, how would that work? After doing that for an hour or so, because all them bees will be up there in an hour, I can guarantee in 15 or 20 minutes they're all going to be up there.
Yep.
Then I can reverse them boxes around and leave them frames in the bottom for 24 hours, I'll say, and then do my graft, take the top box off with the queen, do my graft, put the graft frame in, shake off all the bees off of the open larvae frames, remove them out of there, put the double screen board on, put the other box back on with the queen, put those frames back up in those in with her, and then I got all them extra nurse bees in the bottom along with those 3 frames, and then they'll fly around like it shows in the video, and they'll even populate even more. And then you can my question is, with that situation, if you lit that bottom, instead of, they look at the cells after 24 hours and then they put them upstairs. Well, I guess that's the purpose of that style of queen ring. I'm thinking about letting them be down there for 6 days and then pull them and put them in the incubator. But really, if they start building the cells, they'll finish them upstairs. So that's the whole purpose of a queen right finisher cell builder. If you switch the boxes around and then put your brood frames back up there to draw up there, they'll finish themselves out. But what do you think about that, Bill? You could leave them downstairs for 6 days and they would cap. Would they feed them better in that scenario, or just swap them around to where the queen's back in the bottom and it's a cell right or a queen right finisher? You know, and I guess that's what most people do anyway, was a queen right finisher. So they'll finish them anyway.
Well, we don't use a finishing hive. We put them in either an incubator or we put them in.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. When they're in the bottom for 24 hours. They start drawing the cocoon.
Yeah, they draw them out.
All right, I got it. You can either do 2 things here. You can either do like you said in the video, put them upstairs, make it a queen right hive, and they'll finish the cells out in 6 days. Or I was thinking, well, I could leave them downstairs with no queen, let them finish them out in 6 days, and then start the whole process over again. But you're kind of, I guess you're kind of defeating the process of being a queen right cell starter finisher.
Yeah, and that method is a lot of work. And you really have to stay on your timetable and your time schedule when you do that method. Whereas if you do the queen right cell builder and put her on the bottom and just let her do her thing, laying, and the nurse bees are going to come up and take care of those cells, and they're going to build them out and they're going to cap them. And then when they cap them, you pull them out and you put them in a mating nuke with the other bees. They're going to finish them in that mating nuke, and she's going to hatch already in the mating nuke and go out and get mated.
Yeah, well, see, that means you got to have lots of resources. That's where I like.
Not really. Well, it depends on how many mating nukes you're going to put out there and how big a mating nuke you're going to put out. If you're just doing a run of, say, 5 cells, and you're either going to use a 2 or 3 frame or 4 frame mini, it's not that many resources. But
Yeah,
when you
well,
get in,
what I'm getting at is if you do the cell starter finisher, the one box where you swap the boxes around, where you put the unfinished cells upstairs with a queen excluder and the queen in the bottom,
yeah,
that, like you say, is let them finish them out in 6 days, take them out, and put them in an incubator.
yeah,
And that the hive is still, they feel like they're queen right, and they don't get demoralized. And if like a hive that's queenless all the way, where they finish the cells out and then you take the cells out, they're like, oh my gosh, we're back to the same problem we've had. That's from my understanding of it.
yeah. I mean, you can do it either way, Charlie, but one way is a whole heck of a lot more work than the other.
Well,
And now, if for somebody that's doing just a few cells, that way may work perfectly for them. But when you get into the point where you're dropping to 85, 100, 110 cells at a time, you don't have time to go back and be flipping boxes. So,
well, I'm not doing that many. I'll do 30 at a time.
yeah.
That- That's why, I guess, like I said before, I'm lazy. I guess that's why I just do all my splits, and then I get on the phone and ask the guy when he's going to have some sales ready.
There you go.
Anytime I call him, it's no more than 2 days.
Yep.
He's usually like every 2 days or every 3 days, he's got sales ready to emerge. So he'll
Right.
tell me when to come get them. I say, when they going to emerge? He said about 12 o'clock tonight. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
when you're doing it that way, though, Charlie, you know that wheel that we saw in here last week? You better be on your game.
Oh, I know how to do all that. I'm on my game on that stuff. But let me tell you something. I found a computer generated sheet that it's dead on. You don't have to have that freaking wheel. And let
Yep.
me see if I can find it for you guys.
Well, that wheel is very accurate as well.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it is. I get that. I mean, yeah, definitely. I don't know whether this will go into the chat or not. Whether you can see it or not. Can you see that in the YouTube side?
No.
I don't know why I can't put stuff in the damn YouTube side.
I closed my YouTube side down. Let's see.
How about no, it won't let it me come up. I don't understand that. I'm supposed to be an admin in here, or something of that nature. Let me go. I'll send it to you, Bill.
All right. Well, you gonna email it to me?
Message to her, I guess, on Facebook if I can figure it out how to do it.
Joey, so when was the last time you saw snow down in your area like that?
2017.
Okay. So it does happen.
Yeah, and then the time before that, I think, was 2014, and I can't remember after that.
Yeah.
It usually comes a pretty decent one, like every 10 years. We might get a flurry in between, but not much.
Yeah, we had a week that was pretty cold, and then we had a night or two that was like a -8 and -10, and that's about as cold as I can remember, as long as we've been here along the river.
Yeah. See, a lot of
All right.
times when it snows down here, the ground is wet, not frozen. It's wet. So when
I'm
it
gonna
hits,
bring it up, Charlie.
Go in there and put
Well,
the
that's
day's date
I
into
did.
that.
I did.
Okay.
That's one nice thing about snow. If it melts out nice and easy, it does put good moisture in the ground for you.
yeah.
Can you blow it up any?
I guess as big as it's gonna get, but let me do that. Nope.
No, take the picture that you got at the bottom here and click on the square box.
Yeah.
All right, well, there it is. And what you do is you go to the website and you put in the day you're doing graphs.
Yep.
So that's what I always look at these things, and a lot of time I always count the day I put the graph in. The day I graphed is day number 1. Now, some people call that day 0 for some reason.
Well,
But
this one's
anyway,
called day 4.
yeah, well,
That's for the egg
because
getting laid.
see,
Yeah.
see, this is what I understand. Tip, go back to the top, Bill. This is my complaint, I guess you would say. Who cares about Saturday, Sunday, and Monday? Because you can't sit there in time. You don't know when that queen laid that egg. Yeah, it might be standing straight up, but that egg might be so many hours old. So
Yep.
it doesn't matter. It's when you go in there and you see jelly, but you can't see the eggs because my eyes are not in that best of shape. I'm not
Right.
20 years old, but when you put your magnification unit on, then you see the egg in there, and then you know that larvae is somewhere 12 hours or less old. So I count out on the Tuesday, which is day 1 for me.
Yep.
That's the day that you graph. So you got Tuesday, Wednesday, third, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th day will be Sunday. And it
Yep.
in this table counts out exactly. It's 6 days. That's the day when it's capped. That's the day that's going to go in the incubator.
That's
And
the
then
day that it should be capped. It could vary by a day either way.
yeah, it could, but I've they're pretty much all capped by that time.
Yep.
And then that day I will put it in the incubator, and as like they say on Sunday, which is another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. So you're going to keep it in the incubator for, let's say, 5 days to give yourself some fluctuation there, a day and a half to 2 days. And that's when you would put that cell into a mating box, let's say a 2-frame mating box.
Yes.
And then she would emerge within a day and a half to 2 days.
Yep.
But that's free for everybody. It's cheap, easy. It gives you the rest of the information there about, don't touch it. Like when you put it in that incubator, you shouldn't be moving the cells around or anything else. And well, like there, Friday on the 14th, 2 days prior to merging, it says move the cap queen cells to the mating box. So whoever did this chart, he's thinking like me, at least, when you should move things around.
Yeah.
And all that. And then it goes on down, when they should be orientating. And I just look at it this way. When you put that cell in that mating box, don't touch that mating box for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And all that. So I found that by just Googling it, and there's anybody can copy that link.
Here, I'll put the link in StreamYard. So this is the queen rearing calendar link.
It's KBC, Queen Rearing Calendar. Camelopes, KAMLOOPS, Beekeepers Club. a branch of the British Columbia Honey Producers Association. Well, there you go, Doug. The Canadians saved the day again.
Yep, again. The Canadians came through once again. So it's been another interesting night. So anybody that hasn't subscribed yet, please subscribe and like the video, like the chat. It helps us all in the long run. And Charlie will be here Friday night.
Yep.
And I'll be back with Charlie. Is Bob going to be on with you Friday night?
I don't know. He came in last Friday and I had not seen Bob for months. And literally I forgot about dropping the link because I had, him talking and everything. And all
I
that.
was wondering if you was going to keep it private.
No, I don't know. I forgot all about it. And Bob mentioned, oh my goodness, I forgot about that.
Well, if he's still
Bob,
in here,
Bob had some comments on here earlier.
if he's still in
Yeah,
here,
I
y'all
saw
would
him
tell
on
him
here
he's going to be
earlier.
on Tuesday.
I'm sure it'd be on Tuesday night.
Bob, if you're still in here, what nights are you going to be on this week?
Well, his night's Tuesday night.
Yeah.
It always has been Tuesday nights. And now I got to get a hold of Mike's bees there, home of Easy Ox. I got to get home. I want him to come on my show and do a presentation. I'm going to see whether Mike's got his camera and stuff ready to go.
So I made physical contact today with one of my special guests, and we've run a couple of dates by each other. We're just waiting to get together on these dates, and I think everybody will enjoy this young man. He is a doctor. He has a doctorate in entomology. He's a bug man, and he specializes in beekeeping. So it's going to be a good chat. You're going to have your chances to ask questions, get the answers to your questions right then and there from this man. And not going to say who he is yet. I want it to kind of be a surprise. And we'll go from there. And Mike, if you can get on the same night that he's on, that would help him out and you out. Great deal. So we got 3 minutes till 10. Does anybody else have anything else or any other questions they need answered or pressing topics they'd like to bring up real quick?
Well, I hope everybody will get into their bees this week when it's a little warmer. If you're in the area where it's going to get warm, and make sure you check for the feed because, depending on how you're running your bees, what kind of boxes you use.
Yep.
If you can get in, like Will might be at 50 degrees, check for the feed sources. Make sure they don't starve on you. Like I said, on the two of the hives that were on my videos, I think they were close to, I knew I'd pulled a couple frames up and they were empty, especially and they were in the top box. So they were near starvation. So I'm glad I got in there when I did. And now I feel better as far as knowing that there is resources in there for at least a couple weeks. A couple more weeks means it's closer to warmer weather. Hopefully.
Well, yep. I hope everybody has some good weather too. They can get in, check their bees, drop some food on them if they need it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was good that everybody came in tonight. I appreciate everybody jumping on here tonight and chiming into the conversation. So y'all have a good evening. I'll see you Friday night and next Monday.
Good night, guys.
See y'all later.